These boots were made for talking.
Outweigh and outlast all other arguments.
Plain talking, pioneering.
Let's broaden our minds.
Talk Radio.
The home of common sense.
My friends, 5:20. This is Jake here at Drive on Talk with Skills for Life. Unlock your potential and learn the skills or get the qualifications you need to get the job that you want. Search Skills for Life, do that, and we will help you move forward with your life and your career. 5:21. So many people reacting. This is slightly worrying. Jez, I'm 47 and I haven't worn underwear since I was 16. I was always worried that polyester boxers would make me infertile, says Dave in Northumberland. Man, what you're thinking about? Polyester, that'll play havoc with your skin. It's got to be cotton. Verity's got some good advice on that. If you call her 0344 499 1000. Now we continue. We're trying to give you as many different angles as we possibly can. Could I have some detail up on the screen, please? Or are you just going to sit there on your backside and do absolutely zero? Dave Levine has changed, ladies and gentlemen. When Drive started, he was always on the money. Coming next, we're going to speak to Cormac Smith, a former strategic communications advisor to the Ukrainian foreign minister. As I say, what we're trying to do is give you as many different viewpoints of what's going on from a British point of view, Ukrainian point of view, a military point of view, political, diplomatic. Cormac Smith, welcome to Talk Drive. How are you, sir?
Jeremy, I'm very good, and thanks for having me on.
My pleasure.
Hopefully I can straddle the fence of giving a British government point of view and also a Ukrainian point of view.
I would be delighted to hear that from you. Sanctions today announced by our Prime Minister, sanctions announced by other European countries. Vladimir Putin into the two independent areas. Many people in this country arguing about, that's all he's going to do. It's not going to go any further. Cormac, having been, as you say, a former strategic communication advisor to the Ukrainian foreign minister, has this been a fear for years about Putin and the Ukrainian government?
Yes, it has. I dug up an article, actually, an op-ed that I wrote with the foreign minister for the Guardian in London 5 years ago. And in our headline, we said Putin's desire to put the Russian empire back together will not stop at Ukraine. The challenge for me, and I went out to Ukraine in 2016, and I was the first foreigner to ever be embedded in the Ukrainian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So I got very close and built very high levels of trust, although I was attached to our embassy out there. But it was a very unique position. So I began thinking that, the West needs to see the world through Ukrainian eyes. And I think this is what's coming to pass now. I mean, what we saw yesterday was two pieces of theater from the Kremlin. But the second piece, quite frankly, Jeremy, was an unhinged rant from Vladimir Putin that I've been doing interviews for nearly a month on this. And I have been saying, as has Ben Wallace, our defense secretary, by the way, that, the fear of NATO, the threat of NATO is a smokescreen. It's a straw man. And so it is. Putin is obsessed with Ukraine. And he's obsessed with Ukraine for two reasons. One, Ukraine was the jewel in the crown of the old Soviet Union. Although it was only one of 15 states, it accounted for more than 40% of industrial output. So he wants it back for the wealth that it contains. I mean, we know that Putin said that he believes that the breakup of the Soviet Union was the greatest geopolitical disaster of the 20th century. Well, look at all the horrible things that happened in the 20th century, from World War I to World War II to the Balkans War, etc., etc. And just think of the sense of that. So, but more than that, what obsesses Putin and what he fears most, and what his cronies in the Kremlin fear most, is a successful, free, democratic Ukraine on its doorstep. And this war, the first shot in this war, actually, I got to know the Yushchenkos when I was out there. The first shot in this war was when they tried to poison Viktor Yushchenko when he was running for president, because he had very clearly put his hand up, and he was the architect, if you remember, of the Orange Revolution. He was the first Ukrainian president to put his hand up to say that he was going to take Ukraine on a westward course.
And the fear would be, I guess, in terms of Putin and the Kremlin, that Russians, with an eye towards Ukraine, seeing a westernized, democratic, NATO-related country, that would weaken their position in terms of the Russian people. That's why there's hatred, and that's why he's gone in and he's done things. Can I ask you, Cormac, in your experience, this whole sanctions thing today, we've talked about oligarchs, we've talked about 5 banks being frozen, the Germans have suspended work on Nord Stream 2, the gas pipeline. Are those sanctions genuinely going to make any difference to Vladimir Putin's actions? Some people are saying definitely yes. Others are saying not a chance. He'll get closer to China. He knows what he's doing. What do you think, having been on the inside of the Ukrainian government?
I think if the sanctions are tough enough, they will. And the first thing I'd say, I haven't had an opportunity because I've been busy with other things all day, but I haven't had an opportunity to look at the detail. But the one thing I would say, I was walking my dog actually when it came over the radio in my ear that Germans had decided to put a stop to Nord Stream 2, and I punched the air. I mean, that has been a long, long time coming, and that will seriously hurt. I did my first interview this morning with Irish Radio, actually at 7 o'clock this morning, and I said that we need to sanction Russia back to the Stone Age. And I said that, up to now, quite frankly, we've been at about 3 out of 10. We need to go to 9 out of 10 or either 10 out of 10. So there's a lot we can do. We need to go after the top 50 oligarchs who hold, 200 billion of Putin's stolen money. And we know about the dirty money slushing around in London, in Dublin, in financial capitals across Europe. We need to look at SWIFT. I'm not sure where we are on SWIFT at the moment. There was also Biden was talking about basically stopping Russia from being able to trade in dollars or sterling. So these really big things. So what I'm seeing at the moment is a graded approach. I'm seeing sanctions that are tougher than we have ever done before. I think we will have to get a lot tougher. And the other thing, of course, Jeremy, that we have to do and that the Ukrainians want and that we are doing at the moment, and in fairness, the Brits were the ones to really lead on this, is to arm the Ukrainians to the teeth.
I was going to say, if you were in Ukraine right now, Cormac, what advice would you be giving the government, the foreign minister? What would you be saying?
I'm not sure they would need much advice. I might be trying to get them to make their communications a little bit more coherent, and that was what I tried to work on when I was out there, to have government communication more joined up. Ukrainians are great at firefighting as people. They're still on a journey away from their Soviet past to the democratic Western model that they want. But in terms of their strategic direction, I really don't think that I could. I don't think that I could give them any advice. They know they're on their own. I listened to their defense minister, Alexei Reznikov, say, look, just give us the weapons we need. We'll do our own fighting.
So when you say arm them to the teeth, are you talking guns or are you talking vehicles like tanks and support weapons? What are you talking about?
Well, it's interesting. I was listening to Vadim Prostaiko last night, who's the Ukrainian ambassador to London and somebody I worked closely with when I was out there. And Vadim said, look, it's great. We've got all the anti-tank weapons that we want. This was a big thing for a long time. They wanted javelins from the Americans. As you've heard, we've given them tons and tons and tons and tons of these mobile anti-tank weapons. What they're saying now is, they need more for air defense, and they need more weapons to deal with Russian ships. I mean, unfortunately, Russia has over 10 times as many fighter aircraft as Ukraine. They've got over 10 times as many tanks also. But that was what, I would follow what Vadim Prostaiko said. We need to, my advice, I mean, if anybody would take my advice, Germany, my advice to Western countries would be send your generals to speak to their counterparts in Ukraine, find out what they want, and then work out how to deliver it as much as possible, as quick as possible to them. Because Putin hates this. Putin absolutely hates this, because the more we do that, the more costly we are going to make an invasion to Putin. And I've been speaking to one or two Russians that I know as well. And I really don't get the impression that there's any great appetite for this war, or that Russian mothers have any great appetite for their sons coming home in body bags. And what Putin is threatening, unfortunately, there will be tens of thousands of body bags on both sides. And
I have to say this, Cormac. I'm not the most... I don't know the most about this whole situation, but I could sit and listen to you forever, mate. Thank you so much. We'll definitely be talking to you in the coming days and weeks. Cormac Smith there, ex-strategic communications advisor to the Ukrainian foreign minister. He talked about Vadim Prostaiko there, Prostaiko maybe, the ambassador, the Ukrainian ambassador UK. He was on the show. We'll get him on again, I promise you. Just trying to make sense of this whole situation. The first time I've heard somebody say, actually, Cormac Smith saying there, they know they're on their own. They want us to help with shipments of weapons and tanks, not soldiers on the ground, but they're looking for global help that way. He says they're aware that Putin has always had this at the back of his mind and will definitely go further. Really interesting. If you want to talk about that, 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222, my friends. This is Talk Drive, right on 5:30.